Hello and welcome to Soul in Balance. My name's Alesha and I'll be bringing you a report on the full moon in Aries that'll be happening on the 25th of September at 12:52 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now this full moon is all about relating, especially relating in our intimate relationships and how we're showing up for ourselves. Are we voicing or saying what we need in relationships? Are we showing up in our value and being valued by others? So at this time, we really need to be releasing or transforming our intimate dynamics in relationships. And if we are in relationships that aren't of service, that are not valuing us, we need to have the courage to express this and let this go. Or if it's something that we need to transform, we also need to be voicing how we're feeling and what we need to be in a relationship. Because at this time, relating is going to get fairly deep and very intense, and what is not real needs to be purged out as 2019 is slowly approaching, and we're needing to get into the new dynamics of relating as we move forward. So watch this video. Okay, full moon in Aries. Now this is going to be a big full moon as it's touching on our primary desires, our primary wounding, what we need to survive and move forward, as Aries has got to do with survival and desires and what we need. And just like with every full moon, it's the sun opposite the moon. So the sun and Mercury are in Libra, in relationships and relating, and the moon and Chiron are in Aries, which is our primal need. So at this time, we're needing to be releasing old dynamics and how we're fitting into relationships and how we're not valuing our desires and what we need in relationships. So if we look at the aspects here, so we've got the moon and Chiron. So Chiron is our primary wounding, our collective wounding in Aries, and it's also got to do with the masculine desires and moving forward and initiating. And in its wounding sense, as a collective, we haven't been able to express our needs, our primal needs, and what we're being called to do is to be in our value and express what we need, especially with this Venus nearly about to go retrograde in Scorpio, which is making us dive deep into what our needs are and what we need in intimate connection. And there are also a whole heap of other planetary aspects that are pushing us in that direction as well of what we need. Let's make this real. And those other aspects that we've got at the moment, we've just had the equinox, so we've just had the change of the season. We've got mystical rectangle, which that is pretty auspicious, and we've got 2 T-squares. So there's some serious action going on, and as I've just said, we've got Venus going retrograde, and that will be the 5th or the 6th of October. So shit's really about to get real. And that's putting it in the nicest sense. So what we're really needing to do at the moment is really go through and evaluate what's real, what we need, what puts us in our value, and what we need to move forward. So the sun has just gone through Virgo, and in that sense, with the sun being in Virgo, it's about perfecting ourselves, understanding what we need, understanding what works, and understanding how to move forward and to be of service. So it's really important that we've had all these aspects going through Virgo, so then that prepares ourselves for what we need in Libra, because Libra can be, too balancing, too sitting on the fence, too worrying about everybody else's needs. So it's been really important that we've had all this planetary movement while the sun's been in Virgo, so we can really perfect and understand what we need now, because the dynamics are changing. And you know, 2019 is not gonna just tolerate this stuff anymore. We need to be moving into new paradigms, new dynamics, new ways of living in harmony, because this dense stuff needs to go. And I'm sure everybody's feeling it. There's so much stuff playing out collectively, you know, even within my clients and in my friend scope and what I see on social media. There's so many dynamics playing out, and especially with Mars at the South Node, with Black Moon Lilith, you know, men have seen striking situations happen again as Mars goes direct, conjuncting those aspects. And you know, we're really needing to get that lesson. And it's not just men, so I don't really just want to say just men, but there's been a lot of awakening in our masculine sense. So everyone has feminine and masculine, so our masculine really needs to learn some lessons. The way we get our desires met, the way we, you know, project forward, and you know, with our sexuality as well, we're really needing to get these lessons and have these big wake-up calls and be in a divine sense. So another aspect that'll be going on in a few days after this full moon will be Chiron, which is our collective wound. We'll be going back into Pisces. So Pisces is kind of seen as, you know, where the spirit realms are, the universe, the collective, kind of where the souls hang out, and you know, that type of thing. You could even say the collective womb even. So as I've said in my previous videos, when Chiron went into Aries, it's like how we've been birthed on the planet, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Now with Chiron, the collective wound, going backwards, it's like we're going backwards back into that collective womb, back into the soul state, and then we'll be going back through the birth canal back into Aries later on. So I'm feeling like at this time it's kind of going to be another rebirth, kind of how we would have liked to be born onto this planet, with all the love and understanding that we have now from all the planetary aspects that we've been through, the eclipses, and you know, everything that's happened, the Mars retrograde, and then we've got the Venus retrograde coming up, and everything that we've learning to come into our heart space, especially with the North Nodes in Leo, which is all about coming home to our heart, coming home to our creativity and what we need. So now's a great time to quickly go over more of what we need to be kind of, in a way, rebirthed onto this planet and starting fresh, starting from an open heart, starting from loving ourselves and valuing ourselves. So this is quite a big situation or topic, and it will be going on for quite some time. But for now, it is good to reflect on what you would need to make a restart in your life. So we've got Venus retrograde fast approaching. So the goddess of love will be going retrograde. So Venus is, yes, the goddess of love. She's feminine. It's all about creativity and money and relationships. So Venus will not be visible in the sky for 40 days and 40 nights. And during this time, when Venus goes retrograde, she goes internal and checks her value systems and what she needs. And in Scorpio, Scorpio is about diving deep, our spiritual and psychic connections. It's other people's money. It's sexuality and death and taxes. But I feel, because it's making a lot of aspects out to Uranus and Mars, I feel it's going to be about intimate relationships, especially because it does also rule connections in relationships. So At this time and during this process, these 40 days and 40 nights, Venus will be going internal and checking her connections, checking her intimate connections, and figuring out which ones are worth keeping and which ones need to go. And it's really a time to dive deep and understand what you need. It's all about even just dying and letting it all die and then transforming it and making it into something beautiful. It is a really healing time as well for relationships. If the relationship has what it takes, if it doesn't have the depth and connection that Venus needs at this time, then it just really needs to go. If it's an old attachment from some kind of wounding in childhood especially, then this relationship will probably fizzle out as well, as we're needing to be coming into new paradigms of relationships. So it is going to be a tough time. You know, Venus is not mucking around, and the really funny thing is she's making aspects out to Mars, which is known as the masculine. So, you know, boys, she's not playing. So yes, at this time, we're all going internal. We're all figuring out what we need and what's working for us. And if something's not working for you, you know, if it's really not working for you, say it. See if it's something you can transform. If it's not, then it needs to go. And because Scorpio is all about death and endings and letting it go so something better can come along. So yes, at this time, it's going to be very intense, but I will go through how everything's going in my next video with the Venus retrograde, because it starts the 5th, 6th of October. So we're not even there yet. So I'll touch more on that when it's closer. So yes, enjoy Venus retrograde. Okay, so with all this deep, intimate connection stuff coming to the surface, there's a topic that I really want to talk about that I haven't spoken about before, and that is the relationship dynamics with empaths and narcissists. Now, I don't know what your belief system is with this, but there is a lot of this playing out, and we're really needing to be getting real about what's going on. And I'm sure, you know, everyone's been in a relationship or a karmic relationship where you're with somebody that just isn't present. And you know what I mean? They're just kind of in it for themselves. There's no healthy give and take or energy exchange. And, you know, these are people that are classed as like energy vampires, or, you know, people that are unconscious and they're not even, you know, part of their own body, that they're usually being run by some other entity or something like that. And, you know, empaths are in relationships with these people. Now, there's a lot of negative things said about narcissists, and you know how they're evil and they don't care and they're out to hurt you and you need to, you know, completely get away from these people. And you know, yeah, that is true, but at the same time, they are souls, and we all came here to learn and to be of service. Now look, I'm not saying that anyone should stay with a narcissist, because at this time we're really needing to be getting these people out of our lives. But I think if we let them go with love and forgiveness, it's really important, because just like empaths and light workers are here to be of service, so are people that are narcissists or energy vampires, or people that, you know, have even been in a way taken over by some entity, if that's what your belief system is. Do you know what I mean? From what I understand on this planet, so we have light workers here, you know, doing the work to help heal people, help, you know, lift the vibration of this planet. But as you know, sometimes light workers get lost. They get into, you know, they become codependent and worry too much about what everyone else feels and not worrying about how they feel. And that's why there are these light and dark dynamics here. So, you know, these two are drawn together, empaths and narcissists. So, you know, the narcissist you know, triggers and hurts empaths in such a way that the empath has to stand up for themselves and realize their worth and their needs. So I think we need to look at this dynamic in the sense that, you know, like narcissists are here, you know, being of service, and they are living really, really shitty lives. And most of them have, you know, been wounded as children, and that is how, you know, they've come to be the way they are. And that's how I think the empath and narcissist dynamic stems from, because we have, you know, souls that come in and they've gone through something traumatic in their childhood, and, you know, people either go to either end of the spectrum. You either go to being an empath and being too hypervigilant and worrying about how everyone else feels, wanting to help everyone because you've been hurt, or you go to the other end of the spectrum of being a narcissist, where you totally just stop feeling how you feel, put yourself in a bubble, and then disconnect yourself from people so you don't get further hurt. But both come from a state of lack. You know, that's why they're so attracted to each other, even though they're completely different. So the narcissist is in a state of lack, so they take, and the empath is in a state of lack, so they give. And these two need to come together, so then this dynamic can change. And you'll probably find in a lot of cases the dynamic for the narcissist won't change. They pretty much are the way they are, unless they really find the strength to step up and start learning empathy and start changing their whole lives and their systems of how they run. But the empath usually, after being in these relationships, whether it's just one or it's multiple, will eventually start realizing their worth and realizing they just don't want to keep giving endlessly and giving and giving and giving. And that's why this relationship and these people coming together is so important, so the empath knows their worth and gives to themselves and not depleting themselves, because we really need to be in our own power and be, you know, realizing how important our energy is worth. Like, empaths can't be giving from an empty cup anymore. They need to make sure their cup is full and they've got what they need, and whatever flows over, then that's when they help other people. So these dynamics are playing out right now. And look, it's really important that if you're in a relationship with somebody that just doesn't seem right, that a big chunk of it is really off and it doesn't align with you and it isn't serving your values, that you actually let go of this now. You've learnt what you need to learn, so now it's time to let it go. As I said at the start of the video, we're coming into 2019 where this shit just isn't going to float anymore, and we need to let go of these old dynamics. And, you know, as Venus goes retrograde for 40 days and 40 nights, and after that time we're really just going to see what's not working. You know, if it's not deep, if it's not real, if it's not aligning with your values, if it's not connecting with you the way you need to be connected with, then it's not real, it's not working, it needs to go. And you need to realize that it's just a lesson. And hey, I'm not, you know, like, I've had to go through this stuff myself. I've had to learn this stuff. I've had to be in these relationship dynamics, and more I'm saying that these are not of service, but they're of service for me in the sense that they've helped me be in my power and helped me realize my worth and how much my energy is such a value to this planet. And if I'm just giving it away, then, you know, I'm not helping anyone, especially myself. So yes, at this Venus retrograde, which will be starting the 5th or 6th of October, we're really going to be seeing this stuff come up. And, you know, it's really important that you be in your power, and be in your power enough to let go, and, you know, not try and fix things when things start to go south. Just recently I was in a situation where I knew the situation was bad, and I knew I needed to let go of it. But as soon as something started to go wrong, I went back to trying to fix it, trying to make it work out of fear. And then I realized, what am I doing? This isn't serving me. Like, I needed to realize that, you know, I needed to let go of this situation and be in my power to do that and be concerned with how I feel. Not always concerning myself with how the other person is feeling. How I feel is what matters the most, and it's the same for anyone else in these dynamics. We really need to be focusing on how you feel or how we feel, not how the other person feels. That's their responsibility. It's our responsibility to look after our needs right now. So it's going to be a really tough time, but it's worth it, you know. And I keep seeing all these ants everywhere, and it reminds me that you've got to do the work. You know, you've got the willpower there, you've got the strength there, like you can do that work, and it's just time to let go of the shit show. Like, we don't need this stuff in our lives anymore. Be grateful that these people have come into our lives and made us see our worth and how much we deserve to be valued. So yes, at this time, after that little rant, yeah, please value yourself. Please put yourself in a position where you're open to new and beautiful relationships. It's time to let these dynamics go, because they're karmic relationships. They're soul contracts that have come through to make sure you're on your track. And especially as an empath, you need to stay on track. Okay, so let's go over what's important at this full moon. To me, I believe we need to be grieving what no longer exists. Whether that be an old self that needs to go, whether it's an old relationship dynamic that's been playing out for a long time that needs to go. And with Pluto moving direct on the 30th of September, it really also is a time to move forward with transformation. So what we're needing to do is let go of the old, let it die. So at this full moon, it might be nice to do a ritual or go through a grieving process of the old you, because the old you won't be going much further from here. So at this time, also be prepared for the Venus retrograde and how intense situations are going to be in relating, especially intimate, deep connection. And with all the T-squares and connections with Saturn, it's about making it real. So make your new changes and how you want to move forward real. And that's one of the most important things at the moment. Is it real? How can I make it real? How can I move it forward? So if this video resonated with you in some way, please subscribe to my channel. Or if you think this could help someone, please share it. All in all, I hope you all have a fantastic full moon in Aries and many soul journey blessings.